Today's film is a horror thriller from 2024 titled Sumala. The film opens in a small village called Semarang in the year 1976, where a bunch of kids head out to play in the fields. One of the kids is Abdi, whose father advises the kids to return home by sunset. While the other kids head back before sunset, Abdi and his friend lose track of time. Their football vanishes in the cornfields, so they begin searching for it. During this, they come across a horrifying ghost of a disfigured girl. Who attacks Abdi's friend to death. After witnessing the morbid attack, Abdi worryingly returns to the village and gathers everyone to save his friend. Soon, they find his corpse on one of the rocks in the river stream. Scenes forward to the next day, in which the dead boy's father is seen accusing Abdi of killing his son. There, an old villager arrives and checks with Abdi's story while the others think he's lying. He names the disfigured girl Sumala and begins telling her dreadful tale to convince the villagers of her existence. Scenes rewind to 29 years in the past, where Semarang's wealthiest man, Soejiman, is threatened by his uncle to hand over his land and property because he's childless. This forces Soejiman to terrorize his wife into birthing an heir before he remarries. Sulastri takes it to heart and sobs in tears until she hears two of her house servants talking about an old woman who has the power to impregnate infertile women such as Sulastri. Since she's under a lot of pressure, she sets out to find the old woman along with one of her maids. She crosses the river to meet the woman, who predicts her desire before she foretells her. Before commencing her ritual, the woman makes Sulastri aware of her unorthodox methods of helping women conceive, as they involve black magic and dark spirits from beyond this world. Besides, her ritual will bring Sulastri two daughters, one being of pious nature and the other one being bad to the bone. Sulastri must sacrifice the corrupted daughter to the dark spirits, or else things will get messy. Once Sulastri agrees to all the terms out of sheer desperation, the woman makes her drink raw blood and confidently claims that she will conceive within 2 months. Her ritual turns out to be legitimate when Sulastri actually gets pregnant according to the predicted time. Soejiman also gets relieved to hear the news from Sulastri and names his upcoming daughters Sumala and Kumala. He immediately makes his maid spread out the word of Sulastri's pregnancy in Semarang and holds Sulastri's bathing ceremony once the womb fully develops. On a rainy night, Sulastri goes into labor and goes through excruciating pain to deliver the twins under the supervision of a midwife. While soaking in sweat, Sulastri spots a horrifying demon sitting next to her, probably waiting to collect one of the girls. Unfortunately, her first girl is stillborn, and the second one has a disfigured face. Soejiman becomes livid by the sight of her and slays her on the spot. Miraculously, the stillborn girl starts crying, indicating that she's alive. Soejiman gets relieved to know that at least one of his girls made it alive. He names her Kumala and makes her birth official among the villagers. As time passes, Kumala grows up with half of her body completely paralyzed. It turns out she inherited the paralysis from Soejiman, who battled the same kind of paralysis growing up. He gets Kumala treated through a reliable therapist, but, however, Kumala's paralysis doesn't get any better, unlike Soejiman's. One day, Sulastri worries about the way Kumala is messing with a toppled bicycle and asks her to stop. Kumala becomes furious over this small inconvenience and goes feral. Soejiman takes notice of this and sends her to her room, where she starts throwing her stuff around and smashes her head against the mattress. Sulastri and Soejiman become concerned to see her aggressive outburst. Unable to comprehend the real issue, Soejiman and his men tie her up in the barn and neglect her, whereas Sulastri truly worries for her condition. Scenes move forward to a few years ahead. Kumala is now missing from the barn, so Soejiman and Sulastri set out to find her. She ends up hiding in the farmer's market, where kids her age bully her for being crazy and disabled. Soejiman soon finds her and brings her back to the barn, where he brutally whips her so she doesn't make a habit out of escaping. Sulastri and her maid try to stop Soejiman, but his anger overwhelms them. Once they leave, the maid looks after Kumala's mounds and makes her play the piano to divert her mind from the stressful and traumatizing event. She then brings Kumala a doll that she's made herself, as it's Kumala's birthday today, and her own parents don't seem to remember it. The following night, Kumala is haunted by Sumala's ghost. Who wants revenge from Soejimon for slaying her and mistreating Kumala in all these years. The next day, Soejimon becomes bothered by Kumala playing the piano and slaps her. Solastri silently bears the abuse as she's powerless in the marriage. Kumala runs out of patience and gets up to threaten Soejimon. She freakishly fixes her paralysis and angrily jabs a pen in his hand. In actuality, Sumala is behind this cruelty, but Kumala gets punished for her sins. Soejimon makes her his new scarecrow for the cornfield and leaves her to burn in the scorching sun. When they bring her back for dinner at night, she gets possessed by Sumala once again, who makes her pee on the table. Soejimon's servant tries to stop her, but she attacks him too. That's when Solastri sees Sumala's reflection in the mirror and becomes horrified. Kumala runs away soon and is later discovered eating raw meat in the barn. The next day, Kumala's nanny Sum worryingly asks her about last night's misconduct. Kumala tells her the truth about Sumala, which Solastri overhears. She now realizes that she's broken the pact by not sacrificing one of the daughters to the devil and worries about what will happen next. When Solastri asks Sum to join her on a journey, she asks her son to look after Kumala, who happens to be the narrator of Sumala's story in the Abdi's timeline. Solastri takes Sum to consult the old woman across the river, but she finds out from the boat guy that the woman died months ago. Fearing what will happen next, Solastri confesses everything to Sum. A few more years later, Soejimon is still seen locking Kumala up in the shed. Sum begs for his mercy on Kumala and asks him to stop abusing her, but he claims that it's his way of teaching her manners. Behind their backs, Sum loves Kumala and comforts her. Due to her courtesy, Kumala grows a soft spot for her. One day, the village's kids show up outside her house and trick her into coming out, after which they bully her and smear mud all over her face. Sum chases them away, while her own parents watch the entire thing from a distance. Soejimon gets Kumala locked up in the shed once again. That night, Solastri hears eerie noises coming from the shed and wishes to check up on Kumala, but Soejimon forbids her to do so. Meanwhile, Kumala gets possessed by Sumala and grabs a sickle before escaping. She and Sumala track down the bully who smeared mud in Kumala's face and stab him to death to exact revenge on him. The sisters' next target is two more bullies who are lurking outside. When their absence is noted by the villagers, they instruct the remaining kids to stay under one roof and set out to look for the kids in another village. Once they're alone, Kumala lures them outside using their football and brutally slays them. She beheads the last one with a big grin on her face. The next day, the villagers discover the dead kids' limbs scattered all over the land and their heads pierced on a stick, which baffles everyone. They find Kumala's doll nearby, so they head to Soejimon's place and accuse Kumala of the violent murders. Soejimon defends Kumala at first, but when he checks the shed and finds a secret hole dug in there, he gets convinced that Kumala's behind the ultra-violent murders. That's when Solastri breaks silence and tells him about Sumala's ghost, which she herself witnessed in the mirror reflection. Hearing this, Soejimon personally asks Kumala about this, which she confirms and also makes him aware of Sumala coming for him next. He fears Kumala now, so he instructs his servant to trap her properly and heads out to consult a shaman to ward off Sumala's evil spirit. The male servant traps Kumala's feet between two wooden slabs and hammers wooden nails on the slabs to prevent them from separating. Sum cries while comforting her, during which Kumala warns her to leave the house because Sumala is going to massacre everyone present in the house. Sum takes the warning seriously and leaves with her son. Meanwhile, Soejimon finds out about his wife's secret pact with the demons through the shaman. The shaman asks Soejimon to bring Kumala to his place for a ritual. In case he fails to do so, he must stab Kumala's heart with the shaman's provided dagger before the demon hurts more people. On the other hand, Kumala gets possessed and escapes from the barn. She lures the male servant out of his room and attacks him with a dagger. He locks himself in the house, but she knocks it down and obliterates him. Now, Sulastri wakes up to Kumala playing the piano and becomes frightened. When she comes to check up on her, Kumala walks towards her with the dagger. Sulastri runs to her room and locks herself up, but Kumala breaks it open too and cuts open her leg. That's when Sulastri apologizes to both her daughters and begs for a chance to make amends. Sumala spares no mercy and stabs Sulastri to death. When Soejiman returns and witnesses the corpses of his servant and Sulastri, he breaks down. This time, he witnesses Sumala taking over Kumala and coming to get him. He runs into the village and wakes everyone up. He begs them to help him bring Kumala to the shaman. They figure Kumala is possessed and furiously march over to his house to kill her instead. He decides to find her separately. The possessed Kumala attacks him in the fields. He smashes her head with a stone and puts her in a sack, after which he cries and apologizes to her for inflicting so much pain on her. During this, Kumala gets out of the sack and attacks him again, so he ends up using the shaman's dagger to slay her. Shortly after, she arises from the dead and reveals that Sujiman didn't stab her in the heart, as it has moved to the right side of her chest after the possession. Since he caused her the most pain, she guts him alive and pokes his eyes out to kill him. The next day, the villagers find Suejiman's corpse, and Kumala has vanished. Scenes cut to Abdi's timeline, in which some son warns everyone to lock their children in at night and help him find Sumala, who still lurks in the cornfields. That night, the dead kid's father decides to assassinate Abdi because he doesn't believe in Sumala's tale. He ends up encountering Sumala munching on a corpse. Here, the film ends. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome recaps.